I'm Nicole Burley. It is Tuesday, August 10th. This is Rush Hour. Those top stories in just a moment. We do have reporters spread across the country. These circles represent our News Nation network of stations. And tonight we are also following nearly 20 Republican senators crossing the aisle to support that $1 trillion infrastructure bill. But it faces an uncertain future in the House. We're breaking down how the massive legislation could impact your daily life. And at least 6 tornadoes touching down in Illinois, and the severe weather threat still active tonight. California's largest single wildfire in recorded history, threatening rural communities. One of more than 100 large fires burning across 15 states. News Nation live on the front lines of the Dixie Fire. But we begin in New York. And of course, that bombshell announcement from New York Governor Andrew Cuomo avoiding impeachment, stepping down in the wake of that scathing report concluding he sexually harassed 11 women. News Nation's Tom Negevin live tonight in New York City. Tom, he may be stepping down, but the governor's still not admitting any actual wrongdoing.
Exactly right, Nicole. Governor Cuomo still insists he did nothing wrong, although it's become very clear what was coming his way. It became particularly clear in the state capital, Albany, just yesterday, that while impeachment would take time, it was inevitable.
Let's start New York tough with the truth.
His tone consistent since these allegations first came to light last December, defiant.
The reaction was outrage. It should have been. However, it was also false.
But also contrite.
Now, don't get me wrong. This is not to say that there are not 11 women who I truly offended. There are. And for that, I deeply, deeply apologize.
At the state capitol, lawmakers from both parties were determined to spend many weeks and millions of dollars seeing this through. 2/3 had already made up their minds to impeach.
The content of the report are deeply disturbing. We will review that report in detail, including the underlying evidence.
New York Attorney General Letitia James, whose report was released exactly 1 week ago, saying in a statement that today closes a sad chapter for all of New York, but it's an important step toward justice.
The governor did not violate Brittany Cuomo.
Minutes before the governor resigned, his lawyer appeared by video conference, verbally shredding the AG's report and the conclusions drawn therein.
The investigators acted as the prosecutors, the judge, and the jury of Governor Cuomo.
So in 14 days, New York State gets a new governor. It's 57th. Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul takes on that role, becoming the state's first female governor. And she, too, issued a statement today saying, quote, "I agree with Governor Cuomo's decision to step down," saying she believes it's in the best interest of New Yorkers and the right thing to do, Nicole.
All right, so Tom, he's stepping down, but is it still possible he could face criminal charges?
It certainly is. In fact, one of his accusers, Brittany Cuomo, made a criminal complaint last week alleging she was groped by Governor Cuomo, as you may recall, inside the governor's mansion. The attorney general has said in releasing her report a week ago today that she believes the 11 accusers and also believes the governor has broken state and federal law, but she stopped short of a criminal referral. She didn't refer this to prosecutors for any criminal charges. However, jurisdictions around the state, several district attorneys have reached out to the Attorney General's office asking for background information, conducting their own criminal investigations. Civil action is still possible, and Nicole, that is up to the individual accusers themselves.
All right, Tom, we know you're going to keep a close eye on it. Thank you. A News Nation live from the front lines of the Dixie Fire in just moments, and we're breaking down what the new $1 trillion infrastructure bill means for you. But first, let's get to News Nation White House correspondent Allison Harris. So, Allison, we're going to stick with Cuomo here. What did President Biden have to say about the governor's decision to step down today?
Well, Nicole, the president got a number of questions about this afternoon about the governor's resignation. Last week, the president called for the governor to resign. Today, President Biden was asked about the impact that this has on the Democratic Party.
I respect the governor's decision, and I respect the decision he made. I think the impact is all on Andrew Cuomo.
President Biden also asked his thoughts on Governor Cuomo's decade in office and how he's done in that role.
Thought he's done a hell of a job. And I mean, both on everything from access to voting to infrastructure, the whole range of things. That's why it's so sad.
And after giving that answer, the president was pressed on exactly what he means if he thinks that the governor did a hell of a job while he was allegedly sexually assaulting women. The president says that has nothing to do with the question that he was asked, that these are two separate things. A question about the job the governor has done in the past. President Biden reiterating that women should be believed when making accusations. Nicole?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Allison, thank you. Well, the other big headline out of D.C. today, the Senate, of course, advancing the largest infrastructure bill in U.S. history, $1.2 trillion in total. NewsNation correspondent Joe Khalil joining us now. So, Joe, two things. First, tell us how that money will be divided among all of the states. And then, of course, talk about this vote that was not decided along party lines here.
Yeah, let's take that second one first, Nicole. The $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill. It passed today 69-30 in the Senate. Now, in today's divided Washington, that is a pretty strong majority. 19 Republicans voted for it, and that also includes Republican leader Mitch McConnell in that. Now, putting politics aside at this point, this bill is, as you mentioned, the largest investment in the nation's infrastructure in its history. When you talk about the $1.2 trillion number, it's going to impact every state in the union, especially the industrial states in the Midwest, who for a long time have had older infrastructure needs that have been definitely needing repair for decades. So a couple of examples here. Roads and bridge repairs in every state. According to the White House, the state of Michigan, for example, they are going to get about $7.5 billion to fix its highways. Ohio gets almost $500 million to replace and repair bridges there. West Virginia gets $46 million for electric vehicle charging stations. So lots of money. There's also billions for broadband. Overall, President Biden says that about 90% of the jobs created by this bill are not going to require a college degree. Now, looking forward, the bill still has to clear a major hurdle in the House, and that could be complicated. Speaker Pelosi says that she's not going to bring up this bill until and unless Democrats' $3.5 trillion human infrastructure bill passes the Senate. Now, that bill is being debated. It's being amended right now. There is certainly a lot in there. It's complicated. It would expand Medicare. It provides free child care, free elder care, free community college for 2 years. It also would overhaul immigration policy. A lot of Democrats' policy goals are achieved in this one bill alone. So significant there. Again, roads and bridge repairs, according to the White House, for the previous bill, also certainly an important one there. Now, there's concern that President Biden, has made a promise about not raising taxes on people making $400,000 or less. Concern among Republicans that he may not be able to keep that promise with all of the spending in both of these packages. Nicole?
All right, yeah, Joe. So certainly talking about the human infrastructure, but just the basic infrastructure. We certainly need some help with that in this country. All right, Joe, thank you so much. Let's turn now to the West Coast, where the Dixie Fire is now the largest single wildfire in California's history. NewsNation's Jennifer McGraw from our Los Angeles station KTLA is live on the fire's front lines. So, Jennifer, any progress on containing this massive fire?
We're still holding about 25%, but we're in Greenville, where the entire town was just decimated. The problem, we're talking 4 weeks almost on this fire. It's week 3 when this burned down. So now what they're worried about in week 4 over there, the smoke. Now, the smoke has grounded about 30 air attack helicopters and tankers, which is frustrating for firefighters who want to get up there and help put this fire out. But the smoke is also a good thing because it's helping to suppress the fire. But what we don't want to happen is for that wind to pick up and to see what we're seeing here. That right there used to be a lodge. Where I'm standing, this used to be a tow yard. Look at a TV, melted, everything's melted. Cars are melted across the way. That's a post office. Hundreds of homes were lost in this fire. And the major fight right now is in Taylorsville, where I showed you over the ridge where all that smoke is. I spoke with a woman today who refuses to leave, and they are under mandatory evacuations, but refusing to leave because she has her livestock. It's a rural area out here. The major problem, too, if you're listening and you have a generator, people out here who have livestock are worried because they're on wells, and without a generator, they can't pump electricity, and they're worried about hundreds of cattle. So if you can help, contact the Taylorsville Fire Department or Will Myers Ranch up ahead. So they're not only dealing with the loss of life, of their animals, their property, their livelihood, but now they're worried about the fire coming over the ridge. This fire is far from over, and it's going to be weeks before they have it contained. Back to you.
Such devastating images there. All right, Jennifer, thank you for that update. Well, the National Weather Service surveying damage today after 6 tornadoes touched down in northern Illinois. It happened last night, but warm temperatures and more rain mean there's the possibility for more severe weather again tonight. News Nation's Brona Tumulty from our Chicago station WGN Live. So, Brona, how bad is the damage out there?
Well, it is pretty bad. We're standing outside one of those homes devastated here in Sycamore. You can see these trees right behind me. Big, massive trees have been devastated, snapped in half. Right next to that is the makings of a new family home on this farm. The owner of the property, Chris Linneman, was telling me they were about 75% done with the build. They were hoping for an October move-in, and that's obviously not going to happen anymore. Chris wasn't at home at the time. His wife was. She ducked into the current family basement after windows started breaking. She's obviously shaken up, but doing okay. Right next to what would have been that new home is a barn that has been completely devastated, demolished. There's nothing left of it. And next to that is a second barn that housed their animals. That is largely intact. The animals, I'm told, are all okay, so that's a bit of good luck. But before all of this got hit, the tornado actually came from this direction. It hit this house first, their neighbor's house across the way. They were all watching out the back of their home as the storm struck another farm about a mile away, and then a piece of metal flew towards their house, and they all got into the basement. They've got 7 kids in there. They were all huddled inside. They said they couldn't hear that freight train noise that most people who go through a tornado do describe, but what they could feel is a lot of pressure, like they were in an airplane. Once everything fell silent, they were able to come upstairs and survey some of the damage. Obviously a lot of trees down around the home, but they believe that a line of trees, a windbreak at the back of the home, actually helped them out. A lot of those trees are snapped in two as well. Some of them are uprooted completely, but they're all tangled with wire and metal and all sorts of other things that were caught by the trees and otherwise would have hit the house. So a little bit of good luck there as well. Power crews were on scene here a short time ago, still trying to get that power back up and running. And as for everything else, the cleanup continues. Back to you, Nicole.
Yeah, so much damage out there, but Brona, so glad at least everyone is okay. All right, thank you. Let's get to Chief Meteorologist Albert Ramon. He is down in our weather center. So, Albert, of course, you're forecasting more severe weather in the Midwest tonight. How bad are we talking?
Well, the tornado threat tonight not nearly as high as last night. Unfortunately, straight line damaging winds, potentially as high as 75 miles per hour. That's going to be the main concern. And it's across the same area impacted yesterday. Here's a look at the upper Midwest radar. Thunderstorms moving through portions of eastern Iowa, the southwest corner of Wisconsin. Getting reports in southwest Wisconsin of wind gusts as high as 70 miles per hour. And then reports in eastern Iowa of trees down along with power lines down. So throughout the evening, this activity will be moving off towards the southeast. Places like Milwaukee, Green Bay, and Chicago under a severe thunderstorm watch until 10 o'clock Central Time, and may see another surge of thunderstorms tomorrow morning and then another round tomorrow evening. From severe weather to tropical weather, places like Florida, we're keeping an eye on the radar and also the forecast of what is expected to become Tropical Storm Fred later on tonight, currently moving just south of Puerto Rico here in the Caribbean Sea. Tomorrow moves over the Greater Antilles, and by late this week into the weekend approaches Florida, anywhere from the Keys stretching up into the Panhandle, Florida. Let's watch this one for the weekend into early next week. Expected to be a tropical storm, rain and wind in the forecast, Nicole.
All right, Albert, thank you. Well, 2 words you keep hearing: mask mandates, this time in schools across the country, of course, drawing a mix of support and anger. Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois now facing a lawsuit over his school mask mandate, which he announced last week, citing the COVID spread over in Texas. The Dallas and Austin school districts have announced they will require students and staff to wear face coverings, and that move is defying Governor Greg Abbott's ban on mask mandates in schools. And just into the newsroom, Kentucky's governor says he does plan to sign an executive order mandating masks for the start of school. But tonight we are focusing on Florida, where some school districts are going against the governor who banned mask mandates in schools. Brian Enton live tonight in Palm Beach County. So Brian, how is the governor responding tonight?
Well, Nicole, it's the first day of school in many parts of Florida, including where we are in Palm Beach County, and this mask situation is really getting tricky down here. As you mentioned, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has signed a ban against any sort of mask mandate in school. Florida is one of 8 states throughout the country with a ban like this, and what's interesting is today, you now have school districts going against the governor. Broward County, Florida, one of the biggest school districts in the entire state today, voted that they will have a mask mandate. The governor has said if they defy him, he will cut the superintendent's salary and he will cut school board members' salaries. Here where we are in Palm Beach County, they're sort of trying to find middle ground on all of this. They say they are requiring masks, but parents can opt out if they send their child to school with a letter saying they don't want their kid wearing a mask. As a superintendent, how do you feel about the governor mandating how you can make decisions here locally?
You know, the health conditions are local, so it'd be nice to have more local control. But I was sworn in as a constitutional officer to abide by the law of the land, and I'm going to do that.
We think it's ultimately the parents' decision. We think that this is something that intimately affects the health and well-being of young kids.
An American Academy of Pediatrics has said for quite some time that they recommend masks in school right now. But Governor DeSantis pointed out today that in Florida, just 1% of hospitalizations for COVID are children. Nicole?
All right, well, Brian, yeah, this definitely debate will continue. The influx of COVID patients becoming so overwhelming for hospitals nationwide, it is now a race to find open beds in many areas of the country. And News Nation correspondent Janelle Fort live for us tonight in Atlanta. Janelle, it's one of the places hospitals are dealing with overcrowding.
Yeah, Nicole, hospitals here in Metro Atlanta are on crisis mode. The 4 major hospital systems here are now diverting patients from their emergency rooms because they just simply don't have the space to treat them. Not only is there no room for COVID-19 patients, but there's no room for patients that have any other ailments that may send you to the ER. So people suffering from a stroke, a heart attack, broken bones, being shot. Several southern states, including Georgia, are reporting some of their highest COVID-19 hospitalizations since the onset of the pandemic. And health workers say that's being amplified by staffing shortages.
Our staff are burnt out. They have been working long hours for more than a year, and they're just leaving healthcare altogether, or they're having a hard time, continuing to work these hours. So we have a serious staffing shortage in the state that is making it difficult to care for all of the COVID patients in this newest surge.
And many hospitals are now having to outsource doctors and nurses to help with the crunch. And again, this is happening all over Mississippi. Hospitals now fully maxed out in ICU bed space. Arkansas's governor had a press conference earlier today saying that there's only 1 ICU bed there for the entire state. Houston, known for its massive hospital system, only has 27 beds left. And in Central Texas, they've had to shut down 2 emergency rooms because they've taken the staff there and moved them to help at other locations. Now, the situation, health experts say, is dire. Health experts say the solution here is for more people to get vaccinated. In the meantime, implement mask mandates and social distancing until we can get these numbers under control, Nicole.
Yeah, those numbers are certainly shocking. All right, Janelle, thank you. Well, since the pandemic began, an already bursting jail and prison system becoming more problematic. Denver, the latest community dealing with the staffing shortage. A new report this week outlining the extent of the problem, which is busting the budget due to overtime payments. Adding to that, overworked prison employees can create a safety risk. News Nation's Aaron Nolan live in Arkansas tonight. Aaron, is one of the top 10 states seeing understaffed and overcrowded prisons.
Yeah, Nicole, this problem in this pandemic persists. We're talking about overcrowding. We're talking about jail shortages when we have workers in those jails. But it's also happening on the federal level. 103% capacity right now in that federal jail system. But let's go back to that local level that you were just talking about. 10 states are above 100% capacity, including Arkansas right now. But leading the way is Montana. It's got more than 200% capacity of where it's supposed to be. Now, according to the Prison Policy Institute, outside of those obvious problems with just too many prisoners in a confined area, you've got COVID concerns as well. The Prison Policy Institute tells us More people equal more infections equal higher death rates. And then there's the problem with staffing. Nicole, you mentioned what we were talking about in Denver. I did reach out here locally, as Arkansas is one of those states that is having some overcrowding problems. Here in Pulaski County, the biggest county in the state of Arkansas that hosts Little Rock. Little Rock is right behind me. Right now, they're not having an overcrowding problem. What they're having is a staff problem. Again, there's just not enough people. And so what happens, and you mentioned this, you get overtime, and overtime leads to burnout. And so we're in this whole stress and strain of the prison system that continues as this pandemic continues to rage on. Nicole?
Yeah, and it sounds like it's only going to get worse. All right, Aaron, thank you. We'll sail ahead tonight on Rush Hour. It's been nearly 20 years since Scott Peterson was found guilty of murdering his wife, Lacey, and their unborn son. But now the convicted killer could be called to testify in a different murder trial. Plus, a country music singer who called a rideshare to get home ended up in a ditch, beaten and bruised. Now her driver is behind bars. We'll tell you what happened during that terrifying ride. A pair of notorious murder cases possibly set to collide. The defense attorney for the prime suspect in a 25-year-old murder case in California hoping to call Scott Peterson to the stand. That's Scott Peterson. But this is for the trial of the murder of Kristen Smart, not Lacey Peterson and her unborn son. NewsNation's Nancy Liu joining us live now. So, Nancy, this is certainly a notable development. What are the chances we hear from this man who's already convicted of killing his wife?
Well, Nicole, this development does tie together two very high-profile cases, but it remains to be seen whether Scott Peterson is actually called to testify about the murder of Kristen Smart. Peterson's name was mentioned by the defense attorney in the ongoing pre-trial hearing for Paul Flores. He is the man accused of killing Kristen Smart 25 years ago. Flores was the last person seen with her in 1996 after they both attended a party at Cal Poly. And according to the defense, Scott and Lacey Peterson were among the students who were also at that party. And of course, years later, Peterson convicted in the murder of Lacey and their unborn son, Connor. Now, prosecutors in the Flores case have stressed that Peterson was ruled out long ago as a suspect in the murder of Smart. One legal analyst says the mere mention of Peterson is a tactical move.
What the defense is trying to do is sow seeds of doubt and cast doubt on the investigation of their clients and say, look, Scott Peterson, one of the most notorious murderers in the country, went to school with Kristen Smart, and he's already been looked at. What's going on here? Why aren't we focusing on Scott Peterson? I think it's a red herring, but it's a very sensational way to proceed in this case.
Now, a spokesman for the Peterson family tells NewsNation that Scott remains at San Quentin prison and there's no indication that he's being transferred to the jail in San Luis Obispo. Also, there's been no subpoena for his testimony in the Smart case. And the statement goes on to say, quote, Scott did not murder Lacey Peterson, Scott did not murder Connor Peterson, and Scott did not murder Kristen Smart. Scott is innocent. And Nicole, as you may know, Scott Peterson hoping for a new trial. He has a hearing in his own case coming up on August 25th.
Yeah, Nancy, for anyone who follows true crime, this is certainly sensational, as he said. All right, Nancy, thank you for this update. All right, we'll still ahead tonight on Rush Hour. The trial continues for a Colorado man accused of murdering his wife. Investigators piecing together his movements the night she vanished. NewsNation in the courtroom today. We will tell you what was uncovered. And a shocking announcement from Hollywood star Christina Applegate confirming she's been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Welcome back. Here's what's happening in your nation right now. Emmy winner Christina Applegate confirming she's been diagnosed with MS, how the world has responded to that news. And a country music singer ambushed and left injured on the side of the road. She says her Lyft driver attacked her and now he's behind bars. But we begin with a murder trial in Colorado. Barry Morphew accused of murdering his wife on Mother's Day back in 2020, even though her body has never been found. News Nation's Greg Nieto from our Denver station KDVR was in the courtroom today. So Greg, what did we learn?
Good evening from Salida, Colorado. Day 2 of the Barry Morphew preliminary hearing. Yesterday, the focal point was on Suzanne Morphew's bicycle, the bicycle she allegedly was on when she went out for that Mother's Day bike ride and never returned. It also focused on her alleged secret romance with another man. Today, the entire focus is on where Barry Morphew was on that Mother's Day weekend when his wife went missing back in May of 2020. We heard from a couple of law enforcement personnel who detailed Suzanne Morphew and Barry's relationship, also detailing where Barry Morphew was on the day his wife went missing up in Broomfield, Colorado, which is just north of Denver. The prosecution was able to show photos from this law enforcement agent who actually showed Barry dropping off bags of garbage in 5 different locations. He referred to those as 5 trash can runs. The defense arguing that Barry Morphew could not physically have made his way to several different locations, both the day before and the day during that his wife went missing. As for Barry Morphew, he was inside the courtroom wearing a suit and tie and cowboy boots, wearing a mask for COVID protection. He was able to make eye contact with his 2 daughters who have been in the courtroom the entire time. Day 2 wrapped up. Days 3 and 4 set for late August. Again, Suzanne Morphew's body has not been found. For News Nation, I'm Greg Nieto in Salida, Colorado. Nicole, back to you.
All right, Greg, thank you. Still ahead tonight on Rush Hour, change of scenery from one of the world's best soccer players, how Paris was essentially shut down today as Lionel Messi arrives. A country music singer attacked by a rideshare driver in Nashville. And new today, a suspect is under arrest. Police say he threw the singer Claire Dunn into a ditch, then drove off. News Nation's Valencia Wicker from our Nashville station WKRN is live. So, Valencia, do we know what led to this attack?
Well, you know what, at this point, from what we know, this all started out like a normal ride through Lyft. It was a Saturday night in late June, and Dunn was being taken from downtown Nashville to her home in a Nashville suburb west of town. Now, according to a police report, Dunn was riding with this 46-year-old Lyft driver when she says he missed his turn. She told police she informed him of this, and he became so angry that he pulled over, dragged her out of the car by her shirt, and threw her to the ground in a ditch. All of this before driving away from the scene. Dunn suffered bruises and deep cuts to her face, but she was able to provide police with a picture of the suspect and trip information from her Lyft app. The driver has been arrested and now faces a misdemeanor assault charge. Now, we did reach out to Lyft. Of course, the company does not condone this behavior involved in this attack, saying that the suspect has been permanently removed from the rideshare app. Nicole?
Yeah, we're just glad that she will be okay. Valencia, thank you. And tonight on News Nation Prime, Claire Dunn will join Marty Hughes for a live interview to talk about that attack. Well, meantime, Emmy award-winning actress Christina Applegate revealing she has multiple sclerosis, opening up about her diagnosis on Twitter. News Nation's Felicia Bolton is here. Felicia, she shared that she was actually diagnosed a few months ago.
Yeah, that's right, Nicole. Christina Applegate is asking for privacy as she navigates what's next with this life-changing condition. Christina Applegate tweeted about her recent diagnosis, saying, "It's been a strange journey, but I have been supported by people that I know who also have this condition. It's been a tough road, but as we all know, the road keeps going." Multiple sclerosis, also known as MS, is a chronic neurological disease that can disrupt the communication between the brain and other parts of the body. According to the Mayo Clinic, identifying signs and symptoms of MS differs from person to person because it depends on the amount of nerve damage and which nerves have been affected. But some symptoms can include blurred vision, slurred speech, and difficulty with coordination.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you guys were in here.
Applegate shot to stardom as Kelly Bundy and Married with Children. I am going to destroy you. Most recently starred in the Bad Moms film franchise.
I love you too.
You guys want to dance?
Oh my God, do you see that we're in the middle of something here?
And the series Dead to Me on Netflix. She has long been open about her health journey. In 2008, she was diagnosed with breast cancer and chose to have a double mastectomy. And in 2017, she chose to have her ovaries and fallopian tubes removed. That decision stemming from a family history of ovarian cancer. Since opening up about her MS diagnosis, Applegate has received hundreds of well wishes and support from fans online. But Applegate is remaining positive and proving her resilience with this tweet. As one of my friends that has MS said, "We wake up and take the indicated action, and that's what I do." She's such a fighter, and right now there is no cure for MS, but treatment focuses on enhancing recovery from those neurological attacks, as well as slowing down the progress of this disorder and managing symptoms. Nicole?
Yeah, we certainly wish her the very best. All right, Felicia, thank you. All right, let's talk fired for fat shaming. A professional paintballer with Team USA now out of a job after a social media post. She implied a teenager hospitalized with COVID became infected because he's overweight. NewsNation correspondent Marky Martin has the story.
A viral TikTok viewed almost 5 million times ends with Team USA firing a star athlete. The clip mocked David Espino, a high school football star and college prospect who recently spent time in a Florida hospital suffering from COVID. After Espino went on television with his mother talking about his scary ordeal, Team USA paintballer Jessica Maiolo took to social media.
Ma'am, your kid does not need a COVID shot. Your kid needs a treadmill. That's what he needs.
Maiolo quickly deleted her TikTok, but not before another user named Savannah Sparks reposted it along with her own commentary.
Jessica, as a member of Team USA Paintball, I really don't think you're qualified to speak on public health issues, especially not when it's to fat shame a hospitalized teenager who probably didn't have a say in his vaccination status.
Savannah's response went viral, outrage growing on the platform. Other TikTok users calling Maiolo a vile human. Team USA noticed too, investigated, and now has fired Maiolo. A statement reads in part this: "Our decision to dismiss Miss Maiolo from the Team USA program is final and in effect immediately." The professional paintballer taking to Instagram to apologize for what she calls a moment of regret, going on to say, "I am deeply sorry for any attention I have brought to this family." In Dallas, Marky Martin, News Nation.
Thank you, Marky. Well, still ahead tonight on Rush Hour, a major announcement from movie theater chain AMC. Months after the company's stock skyrocketed earlier this year, AMC now preparing to accept Bitcoin across the country. Your Money Nation headlines next. And our first preview of the upcoming college football season, who claimed the top spots in the first coaches poll of the year. All right, tonight in your money news, continuing the ever-growing hard seltzer trend, Mountain Dew now getting into the action, mixing alcohol with the popular soda. Financial journalist Corey Johnson joining us from San Francisco. So Corey, tell us why this adults-only version of Mountain Dew now.
Yeah, well, it's because they can, right? They want to sell. One of the hottest things going into really 2019 was this growth of hard seltzer. This alcoholic seltzer was an explosive category, and among the companies that moved into it as fastest was Boston Beer, the maker of Sam Adams. They tried their own hard seltzers, and they absolutely fell on their face in 2021. They had terrific predictions of growth coming into the summer of 2021, and their sales just didn't materialize. So this is sort of another take at it. Well, the problem they had at the marketplace was customers saw so many choices of these hard seltzers. They wanted that alcoholic hard seltzer, but they didn't really care which brand it was because they didn't know all these new brands. This is hope from both Pepsi and from the folks at Boston Beer, Sam Adams, that they might be able to use this successful brand of Mountain Dew, and with the ready for Instagram, ready for Twitter, MTN name on it, maybe they could hashtag it and get a name that people know and go out and buy it in the ways that they've really failed with their other products.
Well, certainly some colorful cans there. And Corey, I like how you started that, because they can. Get it? All right.
Yes.
In other money news, Corey.
I'm glad you see what I was doing there.
I did. I like what you were doing there. A major theater chain announcing they'll be accepting cryptocurrency by the end of the year. This is a big deal.
I don't know if it is. So AMC, you mentioned the stock, and I think that's the right thing. AMC announcing that they're going to accept cryptocurrencies, and Bitcoin in particular, not all of the cryptocurrencies like XRP or Ether, but just Bitcoin, when people go to the theater at the end of the year. We'll see how well that works for them. I think it's just as important to note that this is really about the stock, and that other companies have talked about accepting Bitcoin as they expand their offerings, have seen their stock prices go up. AMC needs their stock price to go up because they're selling stock to keep the company afloat. The company burned through over $200 million in the 13 weeks that ended in June alone. They are in a desperate debt situation. They've accumulated a lot of capital by selling stock because they can't sell tickets to the movies. The box office receipts are well below the numbers of 2019. They've said they can be cash flow even by the end of the year, but the only way they can be cash flow even by the end of the year is if, in fact, they can see the rise in ticket sales, a dramatic rise in ticket sales to almost about a little bit less than 20% of what it was in 2019. And I don't know if you've been to the movies lately, but the expectation is for AMC that everyone's going to go back to the movies, or nearly as many people as were in 2019. And I, for one, am not.
I haven't been. And Corey, I see you are a tough one to impress, but I will say the accepting cryptocurrency, big deal to me, but obviously not to Corey. Corey, been truly a pleasure talking to you.
But we'll see if
we'll see if it ends up being a big deal. Corey, thank you so much. All right, the Donlin Report starts at the top of the hour. Joe, down in the studio. Joe, Corey was hard to impress. Now you got to impress me. What are you working on?
Hey, Nicole, good to see you. Tonight on the Donlin Report, Cuomo is out. So what happens next in the criminal investigation? New York lawmakers join me to discuss the future of the Empire State and its new leader. Plus, we'll speak with former Cuomo staffer Cassie Moreno about what she called a toxic workplace. And Oregon's governor is suspending some testing requirements for high school seniors. But is he lowering the standards in curriculum? I'll speak with a former school superintendent. And who's picking up the tab for the January 6th riot at the Capitol? You can probably guess. We'll see you with that and more at the top of the hour. Nicole, back to you.
All right, sounds good, Joe. We'll be watching. Well, today we have another check on some top stories making headlines across your nation. That is coming up next. We continue tonight live from our News Nation headquarters here in Chicago. Here are some top stories we are watching right now. And breaking tonight, the House has broken its recess and will now return to Washington by August 23rd. First priority for members will be a vote on that $1 trillion infrastructure plan. It's a key part of President Biden's agenda. The Senate passed that plan earlier today. The package would provide almost $550 billion in new spending over 5 years for roads, bridges, and broadband internet. And New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says he will resign, officially stepping down in 2 weeks. It comes after New York's Attorney General released the results of an investigation finding Cuomo sexually assaulted at least 11 women. The governor has denied all of the allegations. The Texas Supreme Court has blocked a ruling which protects state Democrats from being arrested for fleeing to Washington, D.C. in an attempt to block a GOP-backed voting rights bill. Now, this comes after some House Democrats had filed a lawsuit to stop the possible arrests. More than 50 House Democrats fled to D.C. in early July to deny the GOP a quorum. And no bond for 2 Illinois brothers charged in the fatal weekend shooting of a Chicago police officer, Ella French. French was killed Saturday night during a traffic stop. Her partner remains in the hospital. According to prosecutors, Officer French and her partner still had their guns in their holsters when they were shot. An active shooter call at a Tennessee high school appears to have been a hoax. A Hawkins County sheriff says Volunteer High School was placed on lockdown this morning. Authorities still on the phone with the caller. When they arrived on the scene, they say there were no shots fired, no one was injured. Investigators still right now attempting to gather evidence on exactly what happened. And the city of Miami has ordered residents of an 8-story condo building to evacuate. Officials say that building was deemed unsafe back in May. It failed to pass a 40-year inspection. Miami's building director says the structural integrity was degraded by a contractor working on unauthorized repairs. And of course, this building, one of several that have been evacuated since the collapse of the Champlain Tower South in Surfside. A U.S. peace envoy with a warning for the Taliban tonight, saying any government that comes to power through force in Afghanistan will not be recognized. The hope is to persuade Taliban leaders to return to peace talks with the Afghan government. In less than a week, the Taliban has captured 6 provincial capitals. This comes as the U.S. is nearing the end of troop withdrawal from that country. And hundreds of screaming fans greeted this man, Lionel Messi, in Paris today. He will be joining the city's soccer team after a 21-year career in Barcelona that ended over contract disagreements. It's a 2-year deal with Paris with an option for a 3rd year, and he'll earn more than $40 million per year. And finally, let's leave you with a little smile tonight. As we get older, we all have things we'd like to check off our bucket list. Well, it happened for one 94-year-old woman in North Dakota. She wanted to get a tattoo for her 94th birthday. Anna Marie Opegard got a little blue heart. There it is on her right arm. The whole process only took about 10 minutes. She said she had to get a tattoo to join the rest of the crowd, and she thinks her grandkids will love it. Anna Marie, we love it. Happy birthday to you.